Hello, Dr. Brant Hulsebus here, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. Ask the Chiropractor is my little podcast that I do when someone has a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care. I try to answer. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois. I'm a proud graduate of Palmer College of Chiropractic, and I'm happy to be the team chiropractor of the Rockford Ice Hogs. Let's dive into it. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. So the date this is going to be released is September 17th. Now, September 17th is the day before a very historic day, September 18th. So I don't know what day you're listening to this, but I'm going to talk about September 18th and why September 18th is such a big deal to chiropractors. September 18th, 1895 is the date that we say chiropractic started. That's the date that Dr. D.D. Palmer decided to give a chiropractic adjustment to Harvey Lillard. And when he did this adjustment, he had a plan. I'm going to do this, and this is what's going to happen. So you might see things like people have been doing things to the spine since the ancient times. But this is the day Dr. Palmer went in with a specific adjustment he was going to do. And he had thought he'd have a desired outcome after he did it. And see, Harvey Lillard was the janitor at the Ryan Building in Davenport, Iowa. And Harvey at that time was reported he couldn't hear. And Dr. Palmer at that time was a magnetic healer in the same building on the third floor. And those of you who don't know, magnetic healing back then had nothing to do with magnets. See, back then when you got sick, you go to your church or your place of faith, and your religious leader would pray to get the evil sin out of you so you could heal. Much like the medicine at this time was using leeches and making people bleed to get the negative things out of your body. A magnetic healer would grab a hold of you and maybe a piece of metal and pull the evil energy out of you so you could heal. This was healthcare, 1895. Dr. Palmer must have felt something in Harvey's neck or saw Harvey carrying his head a certain way, and he had a theory that if he was to go in there and correct, that Harvey's hearing might come back. So Harvey came in and Dr. Palmer did his first chiropractic adjustment. He did this move with the intent of desired outcome. And Harvey's hearing came back. Now, there's all kinds of reports how long it took Harvey's hearing to come back. But Harvey got his hearing back. And they thought maybe they found a cure for deafness. So they went out and found another deaf person, brought him into the clinic. And Dr. Palmer felt the spot in the neck that he adjusted Harvey, and that spot wasn't there. But he felt a different spot that wasn't moving right. So Dr. Palmer restored the motion of that one through a chiropractic adjustment. And this person's blood pressure went down. And then he found a third person. And he said, okay, what's going on with you? I'm deaf. And he went to find the spot that Harvey had. The spot wasn't there. So Dr. Palmer did another spot, and this guy's indigestion went away. So he just started noticing every time I feel a spot in the spine, it's not moving right. I go do a chiropractic adjustment, I restore the motion, and then all of a sudden the body part heals. So he started keeping track of every time I adjust this happens and I adjust this happens. And chiropractic started right there in Davenport, Iowa. Now his son came along, B.J. Palmer. So Dr. D.D. Palmer was the founder of chiropractic. Then the developer of chiropractic was B.J. Palmer, the son. And so B.J. took his dad's records and notes, and he was able to get a hold of cadavers. Now this is early 1900s. The use of cadavers is very much frowned upon or very taboo. But he was able to get a hold of some cadavers, and he was able to then trace the nerves from where his dad said he did the adjustment to the body part. And that's when they realized that they were affecting the nervous system every time they did the chiropractic adjustments. They were able to trace the adjustment back to the body part with the desired outcome. So B.J. Palmer took this, started the college, had Dr. Stevenson write a textbook for him. We have a textbook written in the early teens in 1914, about chiropractic and how to perform chiropractic and how to adjust and where to adjust and why to adjust. And it's amazing, if you read this book today, it all holds up. It's all still very accurate. Now today we've got much better diagnostic equipment than they had back then, but the core of this book, the majority of this book is still true today. And I always tease, if you found a medical book from 1914, I don't think you would trust that book. So it's really interesting to see how much chiropractic, when it was founded and the principles it started on, how it all still applies today and how very little's changed other than how we go about detecting and finding the spots to adjust. Now, there was a time they would adjust you and they say, don't move now, stay right where you are, you'll hold your adjustment better. Now we know to get up and make them move around. I did a podcast about 6 months ago about the research. We told people what to do with their lower back issues 20 years ago compared to today and how that's changed. So yeah, we've noticed some more stuff, we've tweaked a little bit. But you gotta remember too that when chiropractic started, it had absolutely nothing to do with lower back pain and neck pain. It had everything to do with improving neurology through chiropractic adjustments to improve bodily functions. And even though the testing, that stuff is still pretty new, been able to test how we affect what they call the autonomic nervous system. That's the nervous system that runs your body without you thinking about it. And it's got two modes. Autonomic nervous system is either in fight or flight or sympathetic, or not in fight and flight, and that's called parasympathetic. When we adjust you, we see the changes in your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system. Again, it's hard to measure these things, and it's hard to, I know everybody talks about they want a double-blind random control study. That's just not how chiropractic research is done, because you can't give a real adjustment and a fake adjustment. It's no different than heart transplants. People weren't given real heart transplants and fake heart transplants to see which one was real or not. It was, this is what we're gonna do, this is what our plan is, and this is what we think is gonna happen when we're done. And if these things continuously happen over and over again, then we've proven this much must work. That's how real chiropractic research should be performed. Just like research on parachutes. Nobody was given a fake parachute and a real parachute, and let's see which one does better. No, it was, this is what's gonna happen when you open your parachute, this is what we think is gonna slow down your acceleration, this is why you'll live afterwards. And that's exactly how chiropractic works. If we adjust this one, we know the nerves go to this body part, we know when the nerves are inflamed, they're in sympathetic mode, this is what happens. We give the adjustment, the sympathetic tone turns down, the parasympathetic turns on, and therefore the body part goes back to homeostasis and you should feel better. Now, does chiropractic offer cures for everything up and down the body? Absolutely not. Chiropractic just is here to help the nervous system do what the nervous system's supposed to do. We always say without interference. That's what chiropractic does. We don't treat asthma, we don't treat indigestion, we don't treat deafness. We find the vertebral subluxation and we correct it with a chiropractic adjustment. And if the body is ready to express itself in a certain way that's been hindered by the subluxation, by correcting the subluxation, the body now will express itself homeostasis the way it's supposed to, and the person now is able to heal on their own. Remember, medicine doesn't really cure things. Medicine retards things or alters things so the body can overcome them. If you have a bacterial infection, the antibiotic binds to the bacterial infection, slows it down, hinders its growth, so your white blood cells can do the job. The antibiotic does not actually go in and remove the bacteria. It makes it so the body is more powerful and has the advantage so it can take care of it. So we have the invention of chiropractic, September 18th, 1895, by Dr. D.D. Palmer. And then after D.D. Palmer came his son B.J. Palmer, and B.J. became the developer of chiropractic, started writing textbooks, he got the school up and running, he got the education going, he started training chiropractors. And then the last Dr. Palmer, Dr. David Palmer, he was called the educator. Because even though Dr. B.J. Palmer had started a school, what he didn't do is he didn't do it the traditional ways, because nothing the Palmers do was traditional. In order to get it credentialed and licensed and viewed as a real college and put into mainstream healthcare like that was their goal, they had to go through all kinds of accreditation. And this is something that my grandmother got adjusted by B.J. Palmer, the second Palmer, but my grandpa and David Palmer knew each other very well. And my grandfather worked with David Palmer. He was at the table to get the schools accredited, to make them part of the same education system as everybody else's. And this was done to not only put us on the same playing field as other universities, but also for the student loan program. So Grandpa fought really hard to get us involved in student loans, because a lot of people in my grandpa's day would say, you didn't even go to a real college, chiropractic schools aren't real. So my grandfather knew that if he could get the schools accredited by the same agencies that accredit every other school in the country, it's hard to say we're not real, because now we're on the same playing field as everybody else. So if you ever say chiropractic college is not a real college, well, the same governing bodies that govern and accredit our schools are the same that accredit every other school. That's like saying University of Iowa isn't real or University of Illinois isn't real. Of course it's real. It's part of the education system that we got put into. My grandfather also got Medicare to cover chiropractic because, again, he couldn't say that the science of chiropractic isn't real. The federal government recognizes it and watches us like they do medicine and osteopaths and dentistry. So he knew by getting us into the same arenas with those that we would become an even playing field, and that's exactly what happened back in the 70s. Chiropractic's been around since 1895. I'm a third generation chiropractor. It's really common to see multiple generation chiropractors in our field. And it all started right down from where I am, Rockford, just south of us. If you jump on the Rock River, head down the Mississippi, you'll meet it right there in Davenport, Iowa, and that's where it all started by Dr. D.D. Palmer. Helped me celebrate Founders Day by telling the story of how chiropractic started and a little of the history of chiropractic and the origins of chiropractic. Thanks for tuning in. If you know a deaf person, maybe chiropractic can help them. Obviously, there's still a lot of deaf people out there, so like I said, we didn't find a cure for deafness. We found a subluxation in Harvey Lillard's neck. And we adjusted Harvey Lillard, his neck got better, and his hearing came back. We did not get adjusted for hearing loss, but it was nice to see Harvey get his hearing back. All right, everybody, if you have a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care or the origins of chiropractic or chiropractic history, feel free to leave a message or a comment below, and maybe next week you'll be the topic of the week. Thank you.